It's time for the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down District 1 and 2 activities week in, week out in the state of Idaho. My name is Brandon Baney, and we are joined by our North Idaho resident and expert, Ryan Scaggs. What's up, Scaggs?
What's going on? See that the Lapway Wildcat sweatshirt you got on there?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've worn it, and it's you're getting casual Brandon today because my schedule has been all over the place with house showings, and we're hitting the finish line. I think I don't want to jinx anything here, but we've had a lot of showings. So
you've been trying to get up this direction, so that's a positive move. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Pun intended.
Yes.
As far as getting some house showings going, that's awesome because I know the market's been kind of stale in some places, but yeah.
Yes. So a lot of showings on my house here in Pocatello, and at the same time, we've kind of been keeping an eye on the housing market up there in Coeur d'Alene, and it's slowly coming down too a little bit. So we're kind of
prices
encouraged.
Coming down. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's some prices dropping. There's some deals to be had if you get the right realtor and all that fun stuff, but not to bore people. This isn't a real estate podcast, so we'll talk sports.
Nobody cares what's going on in my personal life. I
can nerd out about insurance if people really want to know the difference between like indemnification laws, but
real quick. Your IdahoSports.com is kind of your side hustle, right? Your main hustle is you are an independent insurance agent. Yeah. And I did see a pretty cool story you put on social media about you got a new customer based upon his kid is an student athlete at Post Falls High School and knows you from Idaho Sports, right?
Yeah, that was pretty cool, actually. So the athlete mentioned he's a great kid too. It was just kind of funny. He I get this random call and it's like, "Hey, this is so and so's dad." I'm like, "Okay, what did I say wrong?" That was how I responded. He's like, "Nothing. I'm actually calling you about insurance because we've been complaining about stuff and our kid said that you're an insurance agent, so we should give you a call." I was like, well, I probably owe him like Dutch Bros or something like that for the referral. But doing this has built some pretty awesome relationships with people. And they're not the only ones that I actually have gotten from this Prepcast, which has been pretty cool. So, or just from doing sports with IdahoSports.com. But yeah, it's I have a day job that's not talking about high school athletics, but this certainly lends to kind of like the well-roundedness of what I do because it's all about relationship building. So,
yeah, I did get an email this past week from a fan and a parent of the Troy Trojans. And basically he told me that, hey, I've got a lot of old buddies that are, scattered around the White Pine, Troy, Prairie, whatever. And he said, we love the coverage and the love you give the White Pine League every week. And so we really appreciate that. And so thank you for sending that in. And my response would be, it's easy to talk about the White Pine because it's so good.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. You guys make it easy for us to talk about you. But it's kind of funny coming from somebody that's in Pocatello and you and somebody in Coeur d'Alene that's me, talking about, District 2 stuff. But I mean, I grew up in the LC Valley. So, I mean, I've got connections all over the place and friends that still coach and, at Kendrick and other places too around the area. So it kind of makes it easy to talk about some of these programs because you get the, ho-hum insider information that, you don't necessarily share every time, but you get some good like quips and stuff like that. I mean, we get some absolute gems from some of the coaches that we know in the sport. So just the funny stories behind the scenes is the cool part too, I think.
Yeah, and that's why we do it. And so again, if you want to reach out, if there's a team, an athlete, a story you want us to talk about, you can send me an email, Brandon@IdahoSports.com. Ryan also on Twitter @Idaho Game Night as well, because that's what it's all about. It's about the fans, the parents, and especially these young student athletes that are going out and accomplishing great things in the classroom and in the athletic arena. So this is what it's all about.
Just realized I had my sunglasses on my head still. Sorry about that.
No, I thought you were going with the casual look too. I wasn't going to say anything. So
no, I just forgot they were up there.
Hey, you're good. Hey, let's talk tennis real quick, and then we're going to dive into district baseball and softball brackets on today's episode. Tennis yesterday or last week, we talked about there was the Inland Empire meet that was going to happen in the greater Spokane area. North Idaho teams went over there and kind of a mixed bag, but to be expected. That's a really tournament. Lewiston, eschewed. That's the word of the day. Eschewed the Inland Empire competition. They went down to Boise for the annual Capital Classic, and the Bengals actually did decent.
Yeah, I mean they're both good events. The Inland Empire tournament, people may not in other parts of the state know much about it, but there's 56 schools that are represented at that tournament. It's like I think the second or third largest high school tournament in the country. So it's got a really good reputation, and the competitive balance in that tournament's insane. But I mean, you saw some kids, from North Idaho show up and get some wins against, higher upper echelon opponents. So I mean, that was really cool. You get some wins from kids from Coeur d'Alene High School, especially in the boys singles and double side, showed up very well. Lakeland's boys #1 doubles team, they picked up a couple wins as well. So I mean, there's some bright spots that happened over there. But if you really want to talk about tennis, Coeur d'Alene beat Lake City the other night 11-1. Coeur d'Alene's 14-0 on the season. They play Sandpoint on Monday, which I think is going to be another great match for them. But the Vikings tennis team is absolutely just rolling right now.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome to see when they get to state. How do they stack up against the juggernaut that is Boise High? But yeah, so keep up the good work on the tennis courts, and we'll be checking in on state here in just a little bit for that. But we'll get
the insider info from Mr. Sean Kane, I guess.
Yes, no, definitely. He was at the Capital Classic last week with his team. Sean Kane is the tennis coach at Century High School in Pocatello. He's also one of our broadcasters at IdahoSports.com. So we do have that pipeline to what's going on in the tennis world for sure. So, okay. Postseason time has arrived. District baseball and softball tournaments will start for the most part this weekend, right? We're going to get going here pretty darn quick. And so we're going to share all the brackets and break down what's happening in both softball and baseball. So if you're watching the video version of this podcast at the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, first of all, could you hit the subscribe button? It's that little bell icon. You do that, and then you're going to be notified every time we have a new episode, because sometimes the episode publishes on Wednesday. Sometimes it's Thursday. If things really get out of hand, sometimes it's Friday morning. And so you don't have to go searching for it every day. You'll just know when it's uploaded. It'll shoot you a notification. So if you hit that bell icon and subscribe to the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, you'll be able to get updated that way. And so if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to share my screen and we'll pull up all the brackets and break them all down. And if you are listening to the audio version of this podcast at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts, it's all good. We've got all the district brackets right on the homepage at IdahoSports.com, and you can follow along that way. So I figured we'd start with softball. And before we dive into softball proper, wanted to just give a quick shout out. We have every week our heavy hitters and our primetime pitchers, the best hitters and pitchers from the past week in softball. Tacey Watkins made the primetime pitchers list. That's not the surprise. The surprise is she pitched a perfect game, Scaggs, last week, which is
that was
awesome.
Awesome job. Yeah. And she's been so close many times this year. In fact, she throws a perfecto, and then the next game, I think she was only like 1 or 2 batters away from throwing another one. So I don't know if that's ever been accomplished, if you could throw a back-to-back perfect game, but man, she was close. She was really darn close. And just a great athlete, great kid. And what she's been able to do on the diamond has been just nothing short of, it's more than impressive. It's pretty outstanding and rare. Like, let's put it that way. It's just, we don't see it every day.
Yeah, it was pretty sensational to see Tacey Watkins of St. Mary's. We talked about her all year long. I still think pound for pound the best pitcher in the state, regardless of classification. She always racks up the strikeouts. But this time to throw a perfect game was really taking it up a notch for her. So we definitely wanted to give a shout out there. Okay, let's move to the brackets. I'm going to share my screen, and we will start in the Inland Empire League 5A District 1 and 2. You can see I haven't filled in the bracket yet because we were waiting on regular season results from last night. But when you take a look at what's going on standings wise, Lake City, Coeur d'Alene have both been jostling for position all season long, Ryan, and it has finally kind of come to a head here at the end of the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, Coeur d'Alene ended up getting the sweep to rocket themselves into first place in the IEL, coming down to the last couple games today. So it should be interesting to see how things wrap up. Lake City plays at Lewiston today for a doubleheader. See how things end up with the Bengals and the T-Wolves there, but that sweep for Coeur d'Alene was huge. I mean, we've been talking about them kind of lurking behind an upstart Lake City team that I think has surprised a lot of people through most of the season. But Coeur d'Alene coming on strong down the stretch, certainly no surprise to anybody. I think that you look at that lineup and what they can do on the mound too, or on the bump, that they've got all the pieces there to put together a championship effort as far as winning league and district. But we'll see what happens once we get into a district series. I think it could get pretty interesting.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Ryan, can you hear me still?
I sure can.
Can you see me?
You're kind of frozen, but I can see you.
Okay, yeah. I've finally pushed the boundaries of what my computer can accept. I have too many tabs open, and everything is frozen up on me for the moment. And my camera actually turned off. So, but as long as you can still hear me, I think we're going to be okay.
Audio wise, I got you. Yeah, we're good there.
Okay, we'll see if my computer
can. At least you don't have a silly look on your face and you're frozen. It's just kind of like a still shot of what looks to be like a screenshot of you talking.
Yeah, I've finally done it. I've overloaded my CPU. Okay, so there's a couple of league games still left to be played, but either way, there's 1.5 bids to state available from this league. I still feel pretty good about Coeur d'Alene and Lake City.
Yep.
Can Lewiston play spoiler, Post Falls? It really is. Any of the four, it wouldn't surprise me to see them in that play-in game against somebody from District 3.
Yeah, District 3 is pretty tough this year too. You look at what they've been able to do in that conference. I don't, as far as in a play-in game, a one game or a doubleheader scenario, type situation, like that one game scenario on a Saturday is just a crapshoot. And if it depends on which team shows up. If it's Lake City, I like Lake City just because the way they can hit. The thing is though, in their losses, they get handcuffed pretty easily. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, even if it's Coeur d'Alene in that situation, you never know what comes out of districts. So you look at Coeur d'Alene being, oh yeah, they're the favorite. They won the IEL, or they're in first in the IEL. Well, that doesn't mean anything once you get out of districts. They could end up, not even making the play-in game just based on the balance of this conference. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But, I still think it is the two Coeur d'Alene schools that make it, at least to state and then the play-in game. Whether it's two teams or one team, I think is yet to be seen. It's that conference down south pretty tough too.
Yeah, they once again had the top 5 spots in the coaches poll this week. All 5.
now you're just this like little icon. There's no picture now. It's all good.
It's just like the spinning circle of death.
It's like you're a black screen with like the ghost, like the shadow silhouette white figure in the gray background.
Oh man, my whole computer just went black. Can you see this? There's a black bar across. Oh my gosh, my computer is like literally dying before our eyes. This is fantastic.
You got to up that RAM, big dog.
If anybody's watching this on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, this alone is worth the price of admission. The slow, torturous death of my computer. Okay,
here moving a little bit.
Yeah, here we go. Let's talk Inland Empire League 4A again.
Moscow. Yeah.
What's that?
I said I'll just cut you off and say Moscow. Like I don't know what more you need to say right now.
Okay.
The Bears are playing great ball, and I mean, you just look at that lineup and what they've been able to do. I really like their chances coming out of the IEL, and I like their chances maybe making a placing game at state.
Yeah, I think Moscow has played phenomenally well this year. We can't officially put anybody in yet. At this point, it's probably safe to put Moscow as the number 1 seed. In fact, I'll do that right now because they're 8-10 or 8-6 in conference play. Lakeland is 2-10. Sandpoint is 1-13. So I think you're right here. Moscow is definitely the team to keep an eye on. They'll come into state on the lower end of the Max Preps rankings because of having to play all these 5A schools. But to have an 8-6 record in a league where you're playing the 5A schools twice is pretty impressive.
That's something that you can't, can't overlook. I think that says a lot with the balance at 5A that we've seen this year in the conference, and the fact that they've got a winning record in league means they're taking care of business against those bigger schools. I know that they've stole a couple from Lewiston and from Post Falls as well. So yeah, that's a team that's, you don't want to mess with if you're, I think, they're going to come in on the lower seed line, but they're, I think, as accomplished as many of the other teams that are going to be there at 4A. And I can see you again.
I'm back. My computer unstuck itself. So, we like Moscow there. Let's talk Intermountain League. This is a best of 3 series between Bonners Ferry and Timberlake. Game 1 is Monday night, and I guess I should have mentioned when all these tournaments get started. But Inland Empire League will start next Monday for 4A. The 5As will actually start this weekend, I think.
Yeah, I think they start Saturday.
Yep. Okay. So Bonners Ferry, Timberlake, best of 3 series. Timberlake gets to host because they swept the regular season series. Bonners Ferry has just had a rough go of it this year. I mean, Timberlake, I think we can safely say, is advancing to state like they seem to do every year. Coach Lupinacci always does a great job with Timberlake.
Yeah, no, I like the Tigers, and they got a big win the other night against St. Mary's. They were actually able to strike pay dirt on Tacey Watkins, who was on the mound, and they got a home run and a couple runs out of there, a couple earned runs even. So getting a 2-0 win over St. Mary's is that's a pretty big accomplishment. You look at the Tigers and what they're able to do, especially getting a win against what we said the best pitcher in the state. I like their chances, coming out of the IML.
Yep, for sure. So Bonners Ferry Timberlake best of 3 series starts Monday night at Timberlake. Central Idaho League. We can't seed everybody yet. Here's what I can tell you. Priest River is going to be the 5 seed because they kind of waved off being a full member of the conference. And I can tell you that that's it because Orofino's got a ton of games still to play in the league. St. Mary's is 8-1. Orofino is right behind them in the loss column anyways at 4-2. And then you've got Grangeville at 3-5 and then Kellogg at 0-7. So there's not enough. Everybody is close enough to the next team ahead of them that we can't really seed anything here, but
I think we know who the top 2 are going to be.
Yes. We just don't know beyond that. Yes. Yeah. This is all going to be held at Orofino. So it's going to be a nice, tidy 3-day affair, actually 2-day affair. It's going to be next Tuesday and Wednesday, May 9th and 10th. And so we like St. Mary's. There is basically 2 seeds to state from this district tournament. The big question to me is who gets that second spot?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be the Maniacs. I really do. I look at, the body of work says enough, I think, for Orofino that they're going to be able to have the firepower, at the plate, but also, what's the defense behind them, the pitching. I think there's going to be enough there that they're going to be able to seal the deal against, Kellogg or Grangeville, whoever wants to mount the pressure. But I like St. Mary's as far as getting the 1 seed, especially with Watkins on the bump. But then the next best team, really, you look at what they've been able to do during the season, it's no doubt it's Orofino. So I like the Maniacs as the 2 seed coming out of this conference.
Yeah, Orofino is going to play Kellogg in a doubleheader on Saturday. They're going to host the Maniacs, and so we can't really get the final seeding until then. But stay tuned. As soon as we know, we'll update these brackets, and that's why you should just check in every day at IdahoSports.com for all the updated brackets and scores and schedules and all that good stuff. But okay, we like St. Mary's, we like Orofino coming out of the CIL, and then finally we have the White Pine League, which is also unseeded at this moment. Only because there's still a handful of regular season contests that need to happen. Potlatch is your leader at 10-1. Clearwater Valley is then 9-3. Kendrick is 7-3. Genesee 5-5. Lapway 4-7. Lewis County and Kamei each 0-8. And Lewis County has had to forfeit some games recently, so I hope they can get enough players to get this thing turned around. 3 bids available from this district, Scaggs. The way the 1A is going to work this year, they'll take 3 from the White Pine, 3 from the Western Idaho Conference in District 3, and then the final 2 spots will be given to their 2 at-large bids to the 2 next best teams according to the Max Preps rankings. I just looked yesterday. It looks like it's pretty much going to be an even split. 4 from the White Pine, 4 from Boise.
Yeah, and if you look at the White Pine, it makes sense. Genesee would be the last team in if it ended today. just based off conference rankings. I think that that's the team deserving to be there. As far as that last team in, you look at, you're going to have Garden Valley on the other side. Horseshoe Bend's certainly right there as well. So district tournament, I think in the Western Idaho Conference is going to be a little bit more interesting than the White Pine League. Potlatch has been the most dominant team in the conference. Clearwater Valley and Kendrick, I mean, they're pretty even whenever they've played this year, with a 9-3 conference record for Clearwater Valley. Kendrick's at 7-3. I still think they have a couple games to make up that were postponed earlier in the year. So it'll be interesting to see how things kind of shake up down the stretch. Seeding Potlatch, I think, has the 1 seed pretty much clinched, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because Potlatch only has 1 game left.
Yeah, that would put them at 2 losses, and that's still 1 loss better than anybody else. So Potlatch, I think, is the 1 seed no matter what.
Yeah, isn't this fun? I get to fill out the brackets in real time. This is really good. And then from there, Clearwater Valley is finished with their season. They went 9-3. The question is can Kendrick catch them? So Potlatch has a game left with Lapway. That is going to be tonight, May 4th. And then you've got a double header between Kendrick and Kamei on Friday. I think we like Kendrick to win both games there. And so
I think you can put Clearwater Valley as the 2 seed, honestly, because Clearwater Valley got the sweep over Kendrick.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. Yeah. Number 2, CV. And then we can't officially put Kendrick 3 yet, but I feel good about, I feel good about Kendrick winning those last 2 games against Kamei and being the 3 seed. And then to me, I think there's a clear top 4, right? Potlatch, CV, Kendrick, Genesee. I think those are the 4 teams that we'll see at state. And it could be interesting. Potlatch and Clearwater Valley. Yes, the Loggers swept the season series, but each time it was by only a run. And the first game went 9 innings. So
yeah, I think actually we could see the top 4 is that because if you go based off the head-to-head, Kendrick owns the head-to-head over Genesee. So Kendrick's going to be the 3, Genesee is going to be the 4. I mean, Lewis County would have to be able to play that game and steal one in order to upset any part of the rankings. But I think our top 4 is there. It's going to be Potlatch, Clearwater Valley, Kendrick, and Genesee. Genesee's remaining games is a non-league against St. Mary's tomorrow, and then they have Lewis County on a doubleheader on Saturday.
Okay. I'm good with it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's seed it in. And those to me are the clear top 4.
Yes.
There.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let's move to baseball. Before we do, though, I've got to highlight the 3 great pitching performances that we saw last week. We talked about a couple of them because they happened early in the week, but you had a perfect game from Joseph Bendel of Troy.
Mm-hmm.
You had a no-hitter from Drew Hanna of Orofino. And then you had a 1-hitter from Moscow Anderson. So that's a perfect game, a no-hitter and a 1-hitter. North Idaho took 3 of the 5 spots on our primetime pitchers list this week.
Yeah, and deservingly so. I mean, we talked about them last week on the Prepcast because most of those happened early in the week last week. But the North Idaho pitching, I think, has been fairly kind of unsung. You look at some of the rosters, for these teams, especially the smaller schools, just what the lineups they've been able to put together has been pretty impressive. You look at Lake City, I think has really been the team that's shown up at the 5A ranks as far as the complete staff. I mean, their ERA is pretty good, but the run production's been really good as well. So, but pitching, I mean, you just look at what those guys are able to accomplish at any league around the state. That's a pretty crazy good accomplishment. And you throw a perfect game in high school. I don't care who you are. That's freaking impressive. So that's a hats off to those crew.
Yep, no doubt. So here is the Inland Empire League bracket for 5A. This is already seeded. We already know what the matchups are. Lake City's the 1 seed, Coeur d'Alene the 2, Lewiston the 3, Post Falls the 4. Lake City and Coeur d'Alene just played on Tuesday night, May 2nd, and split. The Vikings won the first game 11-6, and then the T-Wolves took the second game 11-9. 2 very close games. And Coeur d'Alene did sweep Lewiston in the regular season. 2 games were kind of blowouts. 2 were kind of tight. And so can the Bengals be the Cinderella here, or will it be Lake City and Coeur d'Alene fighting for the 2 spots to go to state?
Yeah, I mean, Lewiston's you look at that lineup, they've got some good players in that lineup. I mean, Rickard and There's guys that can play ball. It's just, have they been able to be consistent week in and week out this season? I think that's where the Bengals have not been able to manage putting things together, is the consistency piece. I mean, they're 13-11 overall, but split record in conference. The big thing though was that split between Lake City and Coeur d'Alene. Lake City needed that split in order to clinch the league, and they were able to get it. And that was huge for the T-Wolves to get the split in that series. Because otherwise both those teams would have ended up tied at the top of the IEL. So that's a great job by them. But
yeah, and that was huge with their backs against the wall, right? Needing to win in that second game of the double dip. Mike Criswell has done a phenomenal job in his first season as the head coach at Lake City, replacing the great Paul Manzardo.
Yeah, Manzardo, and let's talk about Manzardo and that last name. Look at what his son's doing right now in AAA ball for the Durham Bulls. Holy cow! But I mean, that's just me nerding out on minor league baseball. But the former T-Wolf is Kyle Manzardo. He's on the doorstep knocking at getting to the big league club right now. But and of course, our thoughts and prayers are still with Coach Manzardo and his wife as she's battling her health issues, and that was why he stepped down and to take care of her at home. And so we're still thinking about their family, and hopefully things are moving in a positive direction there. But what a great job Coach Criswell's done with Lake City. They've been on fire this year, and they're playing, and they've responded to the new coaching staff and just playing out of their minds.
Yeah, I'm in this like uber competitive fantasy baseball league, Scaggs, where there's 30 teams, just like the real life MLB. So the player pool is exceptionally deep. You've got a full roster. You've got minor league players, and Kyle Manzardo was my like round one draft target this year in the draft, and somebody sniped me like 4 picks ahead of when I was going to take him. I was so mad. But anyways, it's going to be exciting to see him when he finally gets to the big leagues for Tampa Bay, the best team in Major League Baseball right now, by the way. Okay, let's take a look at the 4A Inland Empire League bracket. This one, I'm trying to see if we can actually seed this bad boy now. Yes, we can, because everything appears to be complete. Except
it was in the paper last night that Sandpoint had clinched. So.
Yes, so Sandpoint's the one. I think Lakeland and Moscow still got to play, though, in this regular season to figure out who's going to be 2, who's going to be 3. Essentially, what you'll get with that is you get to be the home team for the play-in game.
Playing today.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Because this tournament will and by the way, the 5A IEL will be Monday 4 p.m. for both of those first round games. Basically, 3 will play 2. So Lakeland's going to play Moscow. The winner of that will then have to turn around and play Sandpoint immediately afterwards. So the Bulldogs have a big advantage being able to sit back and save a pitcher in the best of 3 championship series.
Yeah, and Moscow's got to get the sweep today in order to get that 2 seed. So, in my mind, it doesn't really matter if you end up playing that. But Sandpoint definitely, gets the upper hand, like you said, with getting that victory and clinching the league title for the 4A side. That's a good job by that Bulldog team. They've rallied as of late too, so they've been able to play some pretty good ball down the stretch. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, 2-0 win and an 8-5 win over Moscow. They split against Lakeland over the weekend, which was kind of interesting. I thought they've got an 8-4 win over the Hawks and then lose 17-8. So, and then they split against Moscow the week prior. So it's just, consistency is key down the stretch. I don't necessarily see any of these teams bringing home hardware at state, and I'd hope I'm proven wrong. But, I think it's just going to be, Sandpoint's necessarily, job to lose at this point going into the postseason.
Yeah, I think this is a prime example of you're looking at your number 8 seed at state with the Max Preps rankings. And if, we had talked about expanded playoffs this year, I'm not sure a team from the IEL would make it to state if there were an extra round of playoffs, but whoever gets out of this will have basically house money to play with. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. All right, IML Intermountain League 3A best of 3 series between Timberlake and Bonners Ferry. You can flip it where on the softball side, Timberlake was the 1 seed. Here it's Bonners Ferry. The Badgers took 3 of 4 from the Timberwolves or from the Tigers, excuse me, in the regular season.
People mad there.
Yeah, oh, yes, for sure. They actually took 4 of 5. So they played 4 games in the middle of the season, and then they kind of just played a one-off game that didn't really count in the final conference standings or anything. They won that game on Monday 3-0, and now Bonners Ferry will prepare for that best of 3 game series. It'll start Monday night, 5 p.m. in Bonners Ferry. And again, I do like the Badgers, but when you look at the scores, Timberlake was able to push them. They beat them the first time 14-12, and then 12-8, 10-8, 10-7, 3-0. So it's not like there's this huge gap between Bonners Ferry and Timberlake. We still like the Badgers here, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and I look at Timberlake. We talked about it earlier in the year. Is that they're going to keep their games tight, and they have. If you look at the run differential, I mean, they're at a 2.29 run differential with a losing record. You don't often see a team with a losing record have a positive run differential. And that's just, they're competitive in their games. The lower competition they beat up on, and then the games against the tougher opponents, they haven't been able to close the deal on that. They still keep it close. So it'll be interesting to see if Timberlake can come down the stretch and be able to get to the plate and get some run production. But I like Bonners Ferry a lot, especially with your aces on the bump. I think that the Badgers are going to punch their ticket and find their way to the state tournament, and they're going to probably show pretty well, in my mind, I think, down at state.
I agree. I think because they've got 2 really good pitchers. A lot of the teams in the 3A ranks have a stud. Everybody's got an ace. Not very many have a second guy that they can throw. And so Bonners Ferry, I do think, has an advantage there.
Especially if you can get to that third day on short rest, I think, and at least get some innings out of one of your aces. I think that bodes pretty well to finding your way to some success in the state tournament too.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic to see whoever comes out of the North to compete down there at the 3A state baseball tournament.
What a year for Badger sports too. I just want to say that. I mean, you started with football, go through a magical basketball season. I know they didn't win the state championship, and then baseball, here they are, one of the, I think in my mind, one of the top 4 teams in the state at 3A as well. So what a year that this program has been able to, this school has been able to field, and the community I know is responding really well, but they're having success in other sports as well, like track and field. So it's just been a great year for Badger sports.
Yeah. And even on the girls side with golf and track and field on the girls side, it has been a great year for athletics at Bonners Ferry, and that starts at the top with Nathan Williams, the athletic director.
Absolutely.
He's done a fantastic job. And then Christian Wiener also, I think, gets a little share of the success at Bonners Ferry. He's coached, he's helped coach and be involved in a lot of these Bonners Ferry things going on. So it's been awesome to see Bonners Ferry excel.
Of course, they're big fans of ours, so I think that they deserve the love too, because they show us love. But yeah, I mean, I think that they've obviously earned it. Like that school has done a great job. And like you said, I mean, hats off to the athletic director and that coaching staffs. I mean, top to bottom within that school have done an amazing job. Really getting the buy-in from the student body, and it's evident. And I said of all places I went last year, and Sandpoint's such a great place to go for a football game, but the best environment, bar none, was Bonners Ferry. Like, hands down, that was the coolest environment I was at all year so far this year for any sport. That football game there, that playoff game was amazing. That was super, super neat. But
it was really exciting for sure. I'm looking at it, and if you look at Bonners Ferry this year, 10-6 in football, 23-2 in basketball, 16-6 in baseball. That gives them a cumulative overall record this year, Scaggs, of 49-14.
That's crazy.
Impressive.
That's crazy. Sorry, they were 9-1 in football, just FYI. But you said 10.
What was I looking at?
Maybe you were looking at baseball.
Hold on. Again, I'm not a mathematician. This is not.
They were 9-1 in football. They're going to correct you on that one.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I was looking at baseball twice. Okay. 9-1 in football, 23-2 in basketball, 16-6 in baseball, which is a good cumulative total of, 9 plus 3 is 12, plus 6 is 18. Carry the 1. 48-9. 48-9.
Come on, that might be school of the year. I mean, like, I
Yeah.
don't know if anybody's really had that level of success. I
Wow.
mean, Lake City would rival that, maybe the closest, but football, Lake City wasn't even close. I mean, Bonners Ferry's been able to do it in all the major sports. That's freaking crazy.
That's awesome. Way to go,
Yeah,
Badgers.
yeah,
That's really cool.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So,
48-9. Incredible. All right. Let's go to the Central Idaho Conference, the CIL, 2A baseball. If it will load. There it is. All right. Orofino did clinch the 1 seed. Grangeville officially clinched the 2 seed. Still waiting to see who gets 3rd and who gets 4th between St. Mary's and Kellogg. And then Priest River is slotted in as number 5 again. 2 bids to state available here. We like Orofino. Who gets
I
that
picked
second
Orfino to
slot?
win state, but yeah, go ahead.
St. Mary's got that second spot to state last year, despite being sub 500. They won a play-in game to get to state. Here they are again, sub 500, 7-13 overall, 3-6 in the league. Can the Lumberjacks steal the bid again, or will it go to Grangeville or even Kellogg? Kellogg's got good athletes too. What do you think?
I mean, I think if Kellogg can sneak this, I'm trying to think. Kellogg's going to have to play Orfino. St. Mary's plays Grangeville. If it gets seated right? Am I seeing things correctly?
So we still have to figure out who gets 3rd and who gets 4th. St.
Okay.
Mary's is 3-6.
So
Kellogg is 2-5.
say St. Mary's gets the 3 seed. Kellogg being the 4 and losing, say they lose to Orfino, that's not going to scare me as much as then you don't want to see Kellogg play Grangeville again in like a loser out. Well, no, because Grangeville would have to. I mean, if Kellogg can get that 3 seed, Kellogg against Grangeville head to head, Kellogg's got a puncher's chance. I mean, you really look at what they've, Grangeville did get they have the regular season like nod, but I mean, they have stolen a game from the Bulldogs in the regular season. I'm looking at this, man.
So here's what it comes down to for the 3rd and 4th seed. St. Mary's is done. They don't have any more conference games. They're locked in.
St. Mary's with Kellogg's Achilles heel, if you really look at it, if you look at the win-loss record. But go ahead, continue.
Well, I mean, Kellogg took 3, St. Mary's took 2 of 3 from Kellogg this year, right? So here's what. So St. Mary's is done. They're 3-6. Kellogg has 2 games left. They're 2-5. They play Orofino twice this weekend. Tall order to beat the Maniacs, but Kellogg would need to win both to leapfrog St. Mary's for 3rd. Even if they won 1, they'd still be tied with St. Mary's, and St. Mary's would get it based on the head-to-head record. So for Kellogg, it's clear. They got to sweep the Maniacs this weekend to get that 3 seed.
You know what? I'm looking at it. I'm going to stick chalk on this one. I'm going to say that Grangeville gets the 2 seed. Just based off of history. I don't know. I mean, yeah, athletes matter, but Kellogg on the diamond, it's been feast or famine. I mean, you look at, they've beat the teams they should beat, and they've gotten beaten by the teams that they're close to as far as competition level. So it's like contender pretender type situation. I like Grangeville as the 2, and I like Orfino. Obviously, I picked, I think, at the beginning of the year to win state again. I'm going to stand by that and think I'm going to say the Maniacs just run the table, but St. Mary's will make it interesting with Grangeville, I think, in that opening round.
I will tell you that 2A is the most wide open of any state tournament this year in baseball. Napa Christian has long been the dominant power. They've got a new coach this year and pretty much an entirely new cast of characters. And they haven't been the invincible power that they've been. I mean, they've lost to Wendell twice, and Wendell isn't even going to advance to state from their district. Declo is. So that kind of gives you an idea of how wide open this thing is. Firth is going to be good, or Orofino's going to be good. Home field advantage could swing this thing the Maniacs' way just by being able to sleep in their own beds. Of course, Clearwater Park in Orofino is going to host the 2A state tournament this year. And we're in a wide open tournament like this, just the fact that they get to stay home could swing things Orofino's way.
Yep. So. No, that's I think a good point. And, you look at Orofino with the consistency they've had with the schedule that they've had. I mean, the Maniacs, I think, have played the toughest schedule of any of the 2A teams. Top to bottom. Firth, I think, could challenge, and Nampa Christian, I still look at being a challenger too, but Firth is a dangerous team that's kind of lurking out there as well. So it'll be interesting to see how things go once state happens and how it gets seeded with the rankings and everything. But I'm going to stick with Fino Grangeville coming out of the CIL. That's my prediction. It's going to probably aggravate some of the Lumberjack and Wildcat fans, but I still think that if it's a Grangeville St. Mary's game, that's going to be a really interesting game to watch in that first round.
Hey, that's all right. We call it like we see it. Okay.
Balls and strikes, right?
That's right. White Pine League. Who knows? We still got to wait on some regular season games to see this thing. Clearwater Valley is 9-1 in the league. They just suffered their first loss to Prairie, and so Prairie split the season series with the Rams. Prairie is 10-3. They only have one game left. Troy is 8-3. So the Trojans have a chance to maybe leapfrog Prairie for number 2.
They can leapfrog Clearwater Valley if they sweep them.
They could, yes, because CV still has 4 conference games left.
Yeah,
believe it or not. They actually picked up 2 wins via forfeit over Lewis County. We haven't put that in yet because it's happening today, but Lewis County did forfeit those games. So you can put basically Troy at Clearwater Valley Saturday in Kuski, doubleheader starting at noon. That will probably decide the regular season title.
Yeah, and that's what we kind of called, I think, in this conference, was that we knew who the top 4 teams are going to be. It was just what order are they going to finish in. Not Paulach. Kendrick's got 1 game left against Genesee. So they're kind of solidified, I think, in where they're at. So the only teams that can really move anywhere in the rankings is going to be Clearwater Valley and Troy. And so I think those are very compelling games on Saturday. It's going to be interesting to kind of scoreboard watch those ones and how those end up. But, the state champion, I still believe comes out of this conference, and it's not close. But, I just look at those top 4 teams, and those are the ones I see making it to state. Just what order and how they get seeded is kind of yet to be seen.
Yeah, this tournament starts next Tuesday, May 9th, with the series of play-in games. Basically, you want to finish in the top 3 because right now Kendrick would be 4, Potlatch would be 5, and that's a knockout right there. A good team is going to get knocked out. Potlatch is like, what do we got to do, man? Look at these results this year. They lost to Prairie 17-16, so 1-run loss. They lost to Prairie 4-3, another 1-run loss. They lost to Clearwater Valley in 10 innings, 3-2, a third 1-run loss. They then lost to Troy 2-1 in 8 innings. That's another 1-run loss. They lost to Clearwater Valley again 9-8, a fifth 1-run loss. And then they just lost to Kendrick last night 8-7. That is 6 1-run losses for Potlatch this year. They're going, what do we got to do?
You look at that, and then you look at like Troy. They drop a game, they end up 4th. If they win both their games, they're 1st. Like, it's just
no margin for error.
Exactly. Like, this conference is just so wonky. I mean, Prairie's kind of locked in as the 2 seed in my mind. The only ones that can really suffer, I mean, Clearwater Valley, they split. They're still league champs. If they get swept, they drop to tie for 2nd. I mean, that's possibly 3rd. Like, it's just a crazy conference this year. It's super. That just says the competitive level, I think, of these teams. But Kendrick could slide into the 3 seed if Troy ends up dropping both of their games. So I mean, it's just kind of crazy and wild, but it'd be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, no doubt about it. So anyways, those are the district brackets. I know there was a lot that was still kind of unsettled, undetermined. But again, check back at IdahoSports.com every night or every day, and we will have all the updated bracket scores, etc. All right, the postseason is upon us, Scaggs. I'm excited to see these district baseball and softball games take off.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see how things shake out, and we get closer and closer to state tournament time. That's always a fun time, especially for spring sports, because that means the end of the school year as well. So, yeah, we're counting down days. I mean, we're within single-digit weeks now of summer break. So.
Yep, for sure. So, all right.
I did want to mention one thing too, and that was Coach Winger stepping down at Lake City.
Oh yeah.
He was retiring and ending up on top. I mean, you talk about the right time to pick to retire. I think with that graduating class of seniors that he had and the amount of success that team showed with a top 25 finish in the national max preps rankings and state championship and undefeated season. But we look at the accolades on the floor of what he was able to do as a coach, but I think the bigger accolades will come behind the doors of what he was able to do as a mentor and as a person. Congratulations and happy retirement to Coach Winger. Just a great person and a great ambassador of sports in North Idaho, and just doing things the right way. I mean, he's built so many great relationships with people along the way, and I just wish him nothing but the best, and interested to see how Lake City replaces that, because that's going to be tough shoes to fill. He's been there for a long, long time and done an insanely good job. But enjoy your retirement, Coach. That's congratulations. I know he watches our Prepcast. Congratulations and enjoy your ride off into the sunset.
Yeah. And the amount of people that he has influenced, whether it's coaching, players, or leading, a coaching staff, or even as the athletic director at Lake City, or as a teacher in the classroom. I mean, you're talking hundreds upon hundreds of lives that Jim Winger has touched.
Every person I know that knows Coach has something only speaks positives of the guy. And so that says a lot, where it's like, you never hear a bad story about him. You usually hear a funny story, or you hear just like how he impacted them in a positive way. That says a lot about a person. So congratulations, Coach, on your retirement. You've earned it. And going out on top the way you did, doing things the right way. Congratulations. Hats off to you.
Yeah, it's an exciting time at Lake City, where a lot of established coaches, we talked about Manzardo in baseball, Winger in basketball, Brian Fulp, stepped down from the football team. And so it's kind of this new wave of coaches.
I mean, you got Byron Hout that stepped in with football. And so it'll be interesting to see who they bring in for basketball. If they go the alum route, there's some names floating around out there that, are still in the community. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I know that they've probably got their eye on a few targets here in the region. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch that coaching carousel spin round and round for sure. So congratulations to Coach Winger on a great career. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning into the North Idaho Prepcast, everyone. We will, it'll be shorter next week, because when we talk about these brackets, we'll have actual results to talk about, not just this could happen, or this could happen, or 7 different things. We'll have actual results to talk about. So it'll go a little quicker.
Prognostications at that point. It's just who won and who's going to state. So.
And let's hope I never have to do math on the fly during a podcast again. That was a scary ride there when I was trying to tally up Bonners Ferry's wins this year.
It was like looking for the car crash out the windows, watching you do that.
Yeah, you could see the smoke coming out of my ears as it was I was having a malfunction. So all right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. For Ryan Scaggs, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.